Alright, I'm back in the shed. Today I'm going to get some seat mounts done and hopefully poke some holes in that nice floor pan I made. That's going to be for the seat mounting holes. I'll show you what I'm doing with it. So this is what I've got so far. Some plasma cut tabs, some flange nuts. They get welded onto the plate. That becomes my new seat mount. I'll show you what it looks like. And in 3, 2, 1, they're done. Ready to rock and roll. So next step, I'm going to do a clean trim on these sill panels off the original cab, and then we can start putting in these tabs for the seat. This is the tabs I made earlier. The plan is that it will go in the corners like such, and these will make up my bolt holes for the frame that's going to hold up the seat. The reason I've done it this way is I'm going to build another frame that goes above the floor pan to give me the right height for the seats, because the seats are too low and my legs are basically folded up. So I'll get these put in place and I'll bring you back in and show you what the next step is going to be. I'm going to weld this rear panel to the floor pan. I'll put my little infills in and then I'll start marking out the holes. So I need to mark out the holes for these so I can pull the bolts out. I think I said in an earlier video I'm going to drill a hole here and just put a rubber grommet in there, and then I also have to drill out the holes for these. Yes, I understand the welds are ugly. All it's doing is holding that nut there. The nut will compress on the plate when it's in place and it won't go anywhere. And if you think that's ugly, you should have seen the welds on this chassis. So look at that. Look at all these beautiful Nissan welds. Porosity. In the front of the chassis there's porosity, so it'll be fine. I've got these little tabs welded out. As you can see, I've got bolts poking out from the other side. They're just poking out. What I'm going to do is put the skin on, tap it with a rubber mallet. It should indent the floor pan. Then I'll know where my holes are. This one here, I've had to cut down a bolt and make a little stud to locate these holes. So I'll show you how to get your holes marked here. Clecos again, I'll poke them in. That way I know my panel's always going back in the same spot. I'll only throw 2 right now. So the floor pan's kind of laid out where it needs to be. Well, not kind of, it is. I'm just going to put a little dent where these brackets are. So I've got some dents now where my bolt holes are going to be. I'll do the same for the underside. I'm going to get the bolts and poke them up for the cab mounts. Then I'll do the same on the other side. So I've got the floor pans all sorted. I've tipped all the flanges up. I've probably said flanges about 500 times through these videos. Anyway, so I've done all the folding I need to do. I've done all the holes. There's a couple of holes I've got to deburr and open up a little bit. My markings weren't 100%, but you won't ever tell with the seat in place. So I'll show you how the mock-up's going so far. And then in the next couple of days, I'll probably get a bit more time on it, and I'll start doing a bit of spot welding from the panels. And we can probably put the firewall on and get some clecos on it, and then yeah, I can start doing the fun stuff. So you can see there, all the bolts fit nicely. So this one here, I'll need shorter bolts, but that's not a problem. Got the clecos. What I've ended up doing is giving this a bit of a fold up to meet the firewall. I found when I was putting the firewall to it, it was pulling the firewall down a little bit too much. So I've gave it a quick little bend up, and she'll be nice. She'll meet up nicely. There's the other side. So this is, I've tipped that up, bent that up, so we can start doing the tunnel at a later date. I'm not in a rush to do the tunnel. I'm more of in a rush to get the steering wheel and pedals in. So now that I've got the floor done, I can start cutting a hole in that bad boy and putting the steering column in, and maybe do some seat brackets. The plan is I'll probably use a bit of box section to lift the seat, but now I have some mounting holes so I can make my seat brackets to suit, and maybe build a bit of a frame up. Who knows, I'll work it out later. This area here, it's bowing up a little bit. I need to open this hole up. It's kind of a little bit offset, but you got to remember, once the seat's on there, it won't be a problem. Here's what I've done for the holes around the cab mounts. So I'm just going to use a rubber grommet in there to seal it. Originally I was going to do like a sleeve, a bit of a pipe to seal it. I don't think I need to go that far with it. I'm just going to use these grommets. They're all through the floor pan of every car I've ever owned. So once that's recessed, you won't ever see it. Not a big deal. You'll see this one, but again, I can do a aluminium panel above it, or who knows, I might do carpet at a later date. I don't know what I'm going to go with, Ed. I've also flattened this back out where the bead roll was, so my grommet can sit properly. I've done the same on the other side. Thank you. Back in the shed, and today's going to be a good day because I get to put the floors in for the final time. I've decided I'm going to weld this rear wall panel on the bench and install these as one unit. I want to be able to put something underneath it to soak up the heat, because in the truck these panels don't have a frame under it, and I'm a little bit worried I'll blow through when I weld it. And at least I could get to work out my welder settings as well for when I do the rest of the spot welds. I've already located these and marked out the holes to put the clecos in. So I've got the locations all sorted, so I can weld it out and should be fairly straightforward. I've got the floor all tacked in, or welded in actually. I've done all the spot welds. I'm pretty happy with it. I'll show you what I've done and explain a few things. So, this dent here, that's a big boo-boo. What happened was when I tacked it, the material lifted, or the sheet metal lifted, and I kept going and tried to knock it down. I ended up with a dent there. So what I've learned from this little mistake is I've put Clecos on that side. I did that side last. I put a Cleco in every second hole to hold the panel down. So that one is far better outcome. As you can see, didn't lift or anything like that. And it was easier to weld. That's one thing I noticed, is when the material lifted from the frame, it was kept blowing holes in, and the hole got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I found on that second one, when I had the Clecos in and the panel was all the way down, I was able to zap it with the welder and no holes. So the next step is now put the firewall in, and I'll get it located, and I think that's going to wrap up this video. And I'll do a quick wipe down with some metal treatment to stop any flash rust, but I'll show you how it looks. I'll show you how it looks after I put the firewall back in and get it Clecoed. I've done a fair bit off camera. I've managed to get the steering column hole put in the firewall. I've got the firewall Clecoed, and I've done a bit of a treatment on the floor pan. I need to still paint it and all that stuff later on, but I'll show you what I've done so far. So luckily my firewall angle kind of meets and matches the Nissan Navara steering column, the lower bracket there. I've still got the column loosely fitted. I actually think I'm going to revise that pipe. I think I'm still going to go right across. That was my original plan when I was mucking around with it. So I'll go buy some material and do that, because I think trying to add any bracing to the under the dash is just going to be a pain. So I think if I go straight across from pillar to pillar, it gives me a good solid foundation, and then I can mount stuff off it. So if I need to act like an ECU bracket or whatever, I can do that. And now the floor. So what I've done is I've wiped it down with like a metal rust treatment, just to try and preserve it a bit longer. I actually think I'm going to leave it like that. There's a few hot rod guys that they'll paint it black and then sand it back. It looks weathered and aged. I think I'm going to do that and then clear coat the floor. I'm also going to leave all these spot welds. I like the look of it. I'm not going to grind it back. I actually like it. It has that bomber feel to it. Again, I'm not like building a high-end show car. I'm building a car that's going to get driven a lot, and I'm happy with the look. Like, I'm building this for me. If it's not your thing, you grind your welds back. I'm not grinding mine, so be it. So that's the gist of it. The next step, I think, is get that steering column permanently mounted, and I need to add some more brackets for the firewall. So I think in the next video you'll see me make up a side panel here for the firewall. And the reason I'll make this side panel is I want to make sure that the firewall is as solid as possible, and then I can do my brake pedal. Once I get the brake pedal in, I can start setting up seating positions and brake pedal at the same time. But I want a bit more reinforcement for this firewall. I'm not going to weld the firewall in just yet. I want to do as much of the work under the dash as possible. So when I install the brake pedal, I actually need to reinforce that up to the dash. In your normal vehicles, they're triangulated at a few different points to make sure when you hit the pedal hard, like in case of an accident, you don't bend the firewall out. So that's what I'm going to do when I add that extra pipe in for the steering column. That's also going to act as a brace, which I will then add a bracket to the dash, and it'll be solid as. But yeah, that's it. I'm happy with it so far. I'm not even going to get into doing seats just yet. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.